So, about a year ago, my friend and I'll call him Brandon, went to a place we called the Back Park, which is basically a park at the corner of my street. We were on our way to get our other friend, Noah, but to get to his house, we had to go through a small trail. The area was not too heavily forested, but enough to feel like a forest. Since I live in Canada, a lot of the area I live in has trees. So as we made our way through the trail the first time we planned to come back to the park, I thought it was going to be a normal day. I was wrong. Normally, I would be freaked out walking through trees like this, but I have been through many times, so the fear isn't as intense. But I was still a little freaked out. Once we exited the path, we made it to a huge open soccer field next to a school. I actually used to go to the school for a while. The school was a normal school for all I know. When I was attending, it had many more slides, but only one remains. The other two replaced by wooden boards. I wonder why. We had to cross the road to get to Noah's house. We knocked on his door. When he answered, I said hi. He said hi back. Brandon and I then continued to ask him to come out, but he said he was grounded, so he couldn't. So Brandon and I began to head back to the trail, so we could go back to my house, since no one we knew was outside. The walk back started as normal as the first one, but that was about to change. About halfway back, we heard someone yell something like, "Hey!" or just a scream from behind us. You know the people in horror movies who turn around to see who it was, then stare at whoever it did for a long time? That was not us. We booked it out of there. We took only 1 millisecond to look at each other, then we were off. If you think we're stupid for not turning around, you would think completely differently if it were you. Me being slightly out of shape, I had a hard time keeping up with my friend, but we were side by side. We didn't even check to see if we were being chased. As we exited the trail, we went to the entrance of the park to catch our breath. We looked back at the path to see if we were followed, but no one was there. My friend claims he saw a dark figure behind us as we ran, but I don't believe him. Was it a murderer? A rapist? Or just some kid playing a prank? We'll never know. Also, word of advice, sometimes it's better to run first and think later. Growing up, I was never really close to my grandmother. My fathers would make me and my two brothers call her during Christmas, Easter, and her birthday. That being said, I never knew much about her. When I was 18, she died. My family and I drove to her hometown to attend her funeral. Since we were there, we decided to stay in her apartment since there would be no one there and we had to sort through our stuff. One night, I couldn't sleep. I woke up in the middle of the night to see a strange figure next to my bed. I felt as if the figure was pulling the air out of my lungs. There was a loud screeching in my ear. It felt like the thing was trying to take out my soul. I never told anyone about this experience because I felt no one would believe me and that I might get judged. Fast forward about 5 years later, I'm having dinner with my aunt, the same grandmother's daughter. I turned on a ghost hunting TV show. My aunt wasn't feeling it and asked why people watch this, and it gave her the creeps. I figured it would be a good time to tell her about the night in my grandmother's apartment. I didn't tell her when it happened or the location, just that I woke up with a presence near my bed and I felt it was stealing my soul. She just shook her head and told me about how my grandmother used to tell her the exact same story. Not long ago in my city, a drunken bus driver crashed his bus into an elementary school choir, killing almost all of the children. Anyways, I'm 16 years old and I don't believe in ghosts or any paranormal shit. Years ago, I was invited to play soccer at 11 p.m. I met with my friends and we played soccer. Anyways, after a few hours of playing soccer, one of my friends kicked the ball into the school. We argued on who should go get the ball, eventually deciding that we all go and find it. We climbed into the school and started searching. It was so dark you could barely see anything. After 10 minutes of searching, we just wanted to go home. I looked at my watch. It was 3:30. Suddenly, as we were walking, we could hear a high-pitched voice. As we walked towards it, the voice became louder. We leaned against the wall and could hear a huge choir of angels singing perfect notes. Then my heart dropped as I remembered what had happened with the bus driver incident. I told my friends and we bolted out of there. As we were running, the music and the voices were getting louder. It felt as if it was closing in on us. When we got home, we nearly fainted. It felt as if we met death himself. I never walked past that school again. Sometimes at night, I can still hear those choir of angels singing. I can still see those children while I sleep, but they have no faces. So, about 2 years ago, me and my family moved to a quiet neighborhood in the city we live in. It was really nice, good neighbors, and nothing to complain about. Well, every now and then, my mom would take my dog out with her when she did the yard work. He's a black lab and is very protective, especially of my mom. One day, a scraggly looking guy came walking down the street, and when he got in front of our house, my dog freaked out. He even chased after the guy, which he never does. He mostly just keeps himself in between us and anyone he's not familiar with, and will occasionally bark if they get approached too quickly. After that happened, my mom apologized profusely, and after she tied the dog up, the man went on his way. A few days later, the same thing happened with the same guy. Again, my mom apologized and he left. After this happened, another 2 times, my mom was really irritated and refused to take my dog out with her when she did yard work. After a week, she once again took my dog out with her, thinking he would be fine. The same thing happened. At this point, my mom was really pissed off at my dog, and would only let him out if he was tied up or me or my dad were there to help keep my dog away from people, even though he only freaked out about that one guy. Well, a few weeks went by and there was no sign of the scraggly wanderer. Then one morning, my mom was reading the paper, and there was the guy. He had killed 2 girls in their early 20s about a block from where we were living. So the moral of the story: guess a murderer detecting dog like mine.